very good evening to you. Welcome to NTV Tonight. Let's get a check of the numbers, and at this hour the number of coronavirus cases in the world stands at over 6.6 million. 389,705 deaths have been recorded globally. On the continent, we've got 166,315 infections, while 4,655 people have died. And the USA remains the hardest hit continent with over 1.9 million cases of coronavirus and 109,448 deaths. Well, the numbers here in Kenya in just a moment, but first, the day's highlights. Tonight, the strains of the coronavirus are starting to show.
Over 80% of our patients in hospitals are asymptomatic, and therefore, baby can and may be managed from home.
Home-based care to offer respite to straining isolation centers. Also tonight, the Ministry of Health is battling another chronic ailment.
Individuals sitting in very interesting positions refuse to move from that position until you physically send somebody to assist them through that gate.
CS Mutahi Kagwe ups the dose against corruption at Afia House. Plus, the President's executive order. Was the executive out of order?
I don't think it takes away the independence of the judiciary at all.
The Chief Justice pushes back on the President's restructuring. And also tonight,
we are only going to have 4 people allowed in when a marriage is being conducted.
Wedding bells could be ringing again as the AG reopens marriage services.
NTV Tonight with Smriti Vidyarthi.
Thanks for joining us. Flora Atieno is our sign language interpreter tonight. And let's begin with a closer look at the numbers here in Kenya. 124 new cases have been confirmed, raising the total number of coronavirus infections in the country to 2,240. 4 more people have succumbed, bringing the total fatalities to 78, while 39 patients have been discharged after recovering. Mombasa registered the highest number of cases at 40, with Nairobi confirming 38 cases. Busia has 26, and Elgeyo Marakwet is the latest county to report an infection with 1 case. In Nairobi, the cases are spread out in Kibra with 25, 5 in Dagoretti, 4 in Kamkunji, and 1 case each in Embakasi East and Langata. And as the number of infections continues to rise, the government is looking to ease the burden on an increasingly strained healthcare system. The government is putting together an interim plan for safe home care for COVID-19 patients and their contacts to decongest hospitals and prevent them from being overwhelmed. Eunice Omolo has more.
The strains of the coronavirus are starting to show. As isolation centers battle what could be an apocalyptic surge in the number of patients in need of treatment. As the number of infections soar, and with many more samples stuck in the testing labs over a shortage of testing kits.
Because we are reaching, for example, in Nairobi, at a time when both Bagathi and KU are already getting to full status.
The Ministry of Health is now preparing for a full-blown crisis and is considering patients with only mild symptoms from isolation centers to continue with home-based care as soon as the protocols are in place.
With the fight against the virus continuing, we have realized that over 80% of our patients in hospitals are asymptomatic, and therefore, baby can and may be managed from home. If this is implemented, it would free our health facilities from congestion.
WHO recommends that for patients presenting mild illness, hospitalization may not be required unless there is concern about a rapid deterioration and they cannot recuperate under care provided at home.
Is that a lot of people who are in isolation facilities may be released to be taken care of at their homes, provided two things happen. A, it is in accordance with new World Health Organization protocols that we are still looking at and trying to customize and domesticate to our situation. Number two, it has to do with the facilities that families may have, and where no such, and where families are not able to either self-quarantine or self-isolate, the government will still assist in the process.
Home-based care may also be considered when inpatient care is unavailable or, if available, resources are unable to meet the demands for healthcare services. Patients with mild symptoms and without underlying chronic conditions may be cared for at home. Other patients who may be cared for at home include those who are symptomatic but no longer require hospitalization, and in cases in which an informed decision has been made to refuse hospitalization. With the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases on the rise in Kenya, many of the affected people face stigma for carrying the disease. For this reason, avoiding a backlash in their community, many are picked up for treatment by medical teams far away from their homes, including on the sides of the road.
There is no need for stigmatization. It is not necessary. You will be safe, but the people concerned will have to take care, and the families, you have to take care of them so that they do not, because they do not need hospitalization.
The ministry says the protocols that the ministry is putting in place to facilitate home-based care will address the stigma associated with COVID-19 patients. Eunice Omolo, NTV, Nairobi.
And as the country battles a surge in infections, the Ministry of Health is fighting corruption and malpractice, chronic illnesses at Afia House. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe is seemingly frustrated by a number of senior ministry staff transferred from plum positions over questionable dealings, but who have since refused to move. Seth Olale reports.
Though the Ministry of Health proclaims zero tolerance to corruption, a diagnosis of the goings on behind the walls of Afia House suggests otherwise. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe now says he has to up the doors against corruption and official malpractice that he says have afflicted service delivery.
Individuals sitting in very interesting positions refuse to move from that position until you physically send somebody to assist them through that gate. It's a very interesting situation. You know, one would imagine that if you are going to hit the age of 60, you are looking forward, to retirement and you go home.
It's a month now since 30 senior officials drawn from accounts and procurement were moved from their influential dockets at Afia House for questionable conduct. However, some have remained put. They include Under Secretary Morekwa Moranga, Hezekiel Chepkwon, who is the head of National Quality Assurance Laboratory, his deputy Pius Wanjala, and Frida Govedi, who's the head of Kenya National Blood Transfusion Service.
I have been around for a long time, Seth, and I have honestly never been in any institution where people refuse to be transferred. I have never seen it.
Cartels which have turned Afia House into Mafia House have over the years been behind the systemic siphoning of billions of shillings. Treasury allocated 93.3 billion shillings for the health sector in the 2019-2020 financial year, nearly 3 times the allocation 4 years ago. Apart from government funding, the ministry gets billions of shillings from donors each year, attracting cartels that are well connected and deeply rooted within procurement circles.
There shall be no resistance that can stop the restructure of this ministry. If we do not do that, then Kenyans will judge us very harshly when they do not get health services at their clinics and their hospitals.
Seth Olale, NTV.
Meanwhile, truck drivers using dirty tricks to avoid COVID-19 restrictions have been put on notice. The government says it will take action against those flouting rules, blocking the movement of traffic at the borders.
Kule port KPA, wale ambao wanaingia huko wakiwa na magari, kwa sababu tumetoa amri ya kwamba hakuna driver ambaye anaweza patiwa mzigo na gari akiwa yeye hana COVID-19 certificate. Lakini wale wanafikiri ni wajeuri sana, wanapatiana gari zao, wanaingia port na driver moja ambaye ana certificate. Anaingia ndani ya port, anatoa mzigo, akitoa mzigo kufika hapo nje, anapatia driver mwingine ambaye hajafanywa test. Huyo sasa ndio anatoka kutoka hapo, anaenda mpaka Busia.
Let's switch focus a little now, and Chief Justice David Maraga has opposed the executive order issued by President Uhuru Kenyatta, placing certain functions of the Judicial Service Commission under a state department. Maraga says the move is an assault on the independence of the judiciary. But as NTV Silas Apollo reports, the executive insists the actions taken by the president were legal.
In a statement issued shortly after President Uhuru Kenyatta made public an executive order restructuring certain functions of the executive, Chief Justice David Maraga is once more accusing the head of state of meddling in the affairs of the judiciary. Maraga says the actions by President Kenyatta, especially that of placing certain functions of the Judicial Service Commission under State Department, are appalling. JSC, according to Maraga, is an independent institution under the judiciary. The Chief Justice says the order cannot restructure or assign functions of an independent arm of government that is also a co-equal of the other, as the operations of the judiciary have never been and cannot be the subject of an executive order. President Kenyatta had in the Executive Order number 2 of 2020 assigned functions among ministries and state departments, part of which included the Judicial Service Commission. The order also specifies functions of constitutional commissions, independent offices, the judiciary and parliament. But in a quick rejoinder, Attorney General Paul Kihara dismissed the accusations by Maraga, insisting that the order had in no way interfered with the functions or the independence of the judiciary. Kihara says an executive order by its nature cannot restructure or assign functions to the other co-equals, co-substantials and independent arms of government, such as the judiciary and by extension the Judicial Service Commission. He adds that the order issued by the president neither assigned nor attempted to transfer any functions of the judiciary or any other arm of government whatsoever. As such, says Kiara, the allegations by Maraga are not just based on the misrepresentation of the order but are also incorrect. This back and forth highlights what has been the strenuous relationship between the two arms of government, with the judiciary accusing the executive of muzzling its independence. From a failure by the president to appoint judges to accusation of budget cuts, the Maraga-led team has consistently painted the executive as one whose only aim is to intimidate and dominate the order irrespective of the law. Pundits now say that for the two to coexist, there is need for both to understand their roles as dictated by the Constitution.
I don't think it takes away the independence of the judiciary at all. I don't think it changes their functions. If you read the functions, they are the ones in the Constitution, including, in fact, even all other constitutional commissions are in that order.
Whether this tug of war will continue or stop, what is clear is that the bickering and the chest thumping between the two will only serve in eroding gains brought about by the Constitution. Silas Apollo, NTV.
Well, President Uhuru Kenyatta's move to tweak the structure of government, including changing the name of his office from the presidency to the Executive Office of the President, perhaps greases the behind-the-scenes machinery said to be working to scuttle the Deputy President's 2022 plans. Constitutional experts argue that while the executive order by the president is not constitutionally wrong, it can be interpreted as a political move to nip the deputy president's ambitions in the bud, as NTV's Zainab Ismail reports.
The president's executive Executive Order number 1 of 2020, made public on Wednesday evening, captured several changes made to the structure and organization of government. But the highlight of the document that has now caused a stir is a change in name of the President's office from the Presidency to the Executive Office of the President, placing the Deputy President under the President's office. But what exactly does this mean?
While all the executive orders since 2013 have talked about the presidency, the executive order was said to be issued by the presidency. The office under which the president and the deputy president lies was always called the presidency. That has changed. In legal terms, that makes no difference. The so-called presidency was always a legal myth. It was a political myth. Because the president is a constitutional office and it is not a shared office. But politically it was important to give the impression that it was a shared presidency.
What this executive order has in fact achieved is to rip off all the functions that the deputy president was doing and reassign them or disperse them to the cabinet. So we are going to see an increasingly isolated deputy president, without real functions, without real power. So he'll be in office, an office without portfolio.
The order in itself might be interpreted as just a subtle regularization of government departments. But what is clear, according to political pundits, is that it has serious political ramifications for the deputy president.
I think this executive order restates the constitutional position that the presidency is not a constitutional office. The reality is that in the last couple of weeks, we have seen that statement made very, very clearly as to whether we have a presidency, a shared executive, or we have the president with a deputy. And I think that the executive order, from a political perspective, changes that.
The president, by this order, also appeared to take away some of the glamour that comes with the presidential system, perhaps in preparation for the constitutional reforms proposed under the BBI. But it has also been argued that this is just part of the president's onslaught against the deputy president, this order being the latest punch in the face of DP Ruto in the unfolding succession battle.
The president is now becoming more deliberate, that is only going to work with those ministers and leaders that advance his political agenda.
The DP has indeed been walking a tight political rope, and the purge in the ruling Jubilee party has seen President Uhuru Kenyatta move to reassert control of the party by kicking the deputy's allies to the curb for undermining his authority and agenda. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
Elsewhere, and in sickness and in health, this might be the most pertinent and terrifying of all wedding vows in the time of COVID-19, as couples had to find innovative ways to formalize their unions, and the Office of the Attorney General shelved a number of wedding plans. But now, for better or worse, love is possible again, as the Office of the AG plans to reopen marriage services at Afia House. This is, however, subject to approval by the Ministry of Health and to adherence to coronavirus safety tips. Ngina Kirori has the details.
Veronica and Jerry quickly went from wanting every detail of her wedding day to be perfect to becoming excited just at the prospect of getting married to her fiancé, Francis Gitonga. It was a brief and tender church ceremony with only a small reserve of wedding guests.
Niliachieve kenye nilikuwa nataka because I just needed a man to marry me. So, and a man who will love me. I just needed those, despite having those others, flower girls and that bridal party, what is most required is a man to marry me.
In a time increasingly marked by isolation, couples have had to find ways to make their unions possible, including zooming their way down the aisle and sharing the special moments with their loved ones online. Others have had to shelve their plans to adhere to social distancing, as had the Registrar of Marriages at the Office of the Attorney General, who was overwhelmed by the number of those seeking marriage services.
I give you this ring.
But the wedding bells may be ringing again soon, as the Office of the Attorney General considers reopening the service, should it get the green light from the Ministry of Health.
The Ministry of Health did visit the Registrar of Marriages and went around the whole place, and they made recommendations that we have been able to put in place so that we can be able to get them come back and give us the go-ahead to open.
Should the couples choose to walk down the aisle at the office of the Attorney General, they will commit to a new string of measures.
We are only going to have 4 people allowed in when a marriage is being conducted. The couple that is getting married and the witnesses, and then the 5th person will be the Registrar of Marriages.
The ceremonies will also take place in an open-air environment as opposed to the traditional office setting. Prior to the pandemic, couples had to file a notice in order to conduct the marriage, which would then happen within 90 days.
Only 22 cases have not expired. Their timeline of 90 days, only 22 marriages have not expired. The remaining 793, the period of 90 days has expired. So what will happen is that those couples will have to reapply.
The 793 will, however, not be required to pay the 3,900 bob application fee again. However, there is also a backlog of 1,754 couples who applied to the Registrar of Marriages. These couples were set to have their ceremonies conducted under the Christian or Hindu faith, but with the threat of the virus, the vows had to be put on hold. Those wishing to submit new applications can do so online through the online e-citizen platform.
Wedding bells may be heard here, but with a health pandemic, through sickness and through health has tested even the strongest of couples. But with the announcement from the AG's office that they will consider reopening the offices for marriage, these couples have been offered a glimmer of hope. The announcement from the Ministry of Health on Monday will, however, affirm this as they wait to see whether they can say I do to each other. Gena Kerori, NTV.
I just needed a man. That's one of the take-homes, but let's of course see what indeed the ministry has to say. Now, should the country ease restrictions put in place to stop the spread of the coronavirus? Well, that's the question the government is contending with, as it also seeks to avoid a nasty second wave of deadly infections. NTV's Bridget Ngana examines the mixed reactions to the prospect.
For more than 2 months, mosques, churches and temples across the country have remained shut to the faithful. Places of worship after schools were effectively closed when the country reported its first case of the coronavirus. Now the country is taking a nervous look ahead to the road towards easing restrictions and reopening the economy.
Ningelisihi rais ya kwamba amefanya kontroli vya kutosha, aregeze kamba kidogo, watu warudi maofisini. Sasa tumejifunza social distancing.
I would want to urge him to really receive all the expert advice, because Kenyans are not sure whether we should just go back to business as usual.
In a letter to all the regional commissioners across the 8 former provinces, the Ministry of Interior outlined the measures to be taken once places of worship are open. That services should not last more than an hour, social distancing should be practiced inside the premises, and baptism and Holy Communion remain banned in churches.
Na la muhimu ni kwamba tuweze kuweka zile distancing ambazo kwamba ama zile sheria ambazo kwamba serikali wameziweka ni kwa sababu ya manufaa yetu.
We agreed with the regional commissioner that every church is going to have a committee that is going to see the issues of COVID-19 that they are taken care of even as we congregate. If we are going to have more than one service, we are going to have a break between the services so that can allow for the sanitizing of seat and preparing for the next service.
The Ministry of Health, however, says plans to ease restrictions are under discussion and will be carefully considered.
Nobody has spoken about reopening, not in the form that we might understand. This is something that is still being looked at. It is something that our experts are still looking at the modeling to decide and make a decision to see what we will advise the president on this matter.
Congregations are still deemed as possible high-risk vectors for the spread of COVID-19. Bridget's Ghana, NTV.
It's just gone past 20 past the hour. We're taking a break here on NTV tonight. Please do stay with us. I'll be back in a moment.
Who wants to answer? Mary?
Mary has a toothache.
Oh, I see. And who knows why?
Because the tooth is too big.
No, it might be a hole in her tooth called a cavity. That's why I brush twice a day using Colgate.
Imagine this is your tooth and these are food acids that cause cavities. Colgate with calcium and fluoride helps prevent cavities
For maximum cavity protection.
and now available in a 12-gram sachet for fresh breath. Only 15 shillings.
The risk of illness-causing germs is increasing. It is believed that the coronavirus can remain on surfaces in your home for up to 9 days. Touching infected surfaces is one of the ways in which germs spread. Regularly disinfect your floors, countertops, and kitchen surfaces with bleach, and use an effective toilet cleaner inside and outside your toilet bowl. This message is brought to you by Medifacts, JIC, and Harpic.
What comes to your mind when you think of the perfect home for your family? Is it the beauty, the comfort, the security, the convenience, or even the affordability? Victory Gardens offers exactly that and much more. It is just 10 minutes drive from Kitengela town and 3.8 kilometers off the tarmac. This gated community project comes with solar street lighting, Maram roads, beautiful trees, 24-hour security, and water connected to every plot. The best part is, families are already living here. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optiven.co.ke.
Optiven Limited, the pay-setters in real estate.
All day, we expect our mouth to do all kinds of things. That is why it needs all-round protection. New Oral-B Pro Health toothpaste. Its advanced technology helps prevent both tooth holes and gum problems that can lead to tooth loss. It strengthens your teeth, giving them all-round protection. Because your mouth is doing more than you think. New Oral-B Pro Health. All-round protection for your whole mouth.
You are a weakling. Crying doesn't make a person weak, Yvonne. Well, to me it does. Because I believe that only weak people cry. Why make me go through all that trouble?
Because I want you to give up on your own. I want you to realize how weak you are. If you're only going to die at the hands of Del Mundo, saving you would have been all for nothing.
Look, if I was able to face death alone, I'm sure I can also face that demon. All alone.
Welcome back. Now, as hospitals and health systems direct their full attention to the pandemic, the lives of patients with cancer, chronic illnesses and other health conditions are now in limbo. And when it comes to fast-moving diseases, that delay can have dangerous consequences. Brenda Wanga with more details.
The journey to good health for young Dylan Munene has been a long and arduous one. Diagnosed with retinoblastoma or eye cancer at just 7 months of age, Dylan has been in and out of hospitals, culminating in the removal of the infected eye at the Kenyatta National Hospital.
Alikuwa enda hospitali mwezi wa 3 after vile amefanyiwa surgery, sikujua anything from there.
And just when the future was beginning to look bright for the young boy, COVID-19 struck. The restriction of movement in and out of the Nairobi Metropolitan, where Kenyatta National Hospital is located, means Dylan has missed the last 3 months' appointments.
Mimi huanza safari usiku ndo by 8 asubuhi nilikuwa nimepata daktari. Sasa siwezi mpeleka juu, siwezi tembea usiku. Na hata hiyo kupata hiyo transport ni ngumu sana juu mimi siko job.
The only other option available for her to bring her son will be through private vehicles. She can't afford the cost. She now depends on the masses of a facility in Meru for some pain relief for her son. This hospice is also the source of hope for Douglas Mwirigi. Mwirigi is battling cancer of the pancreas. He needs regular radiation treatment. This can only be accessed in Nairobi, which is currently out of bounds for him.
Kwanza wakati hii ya COVID tumeumia sana, kwa maana mimi mwenyewe kazi ile nilikuwa nafanya tulisimamisha. Unaona? Chakula ni taabu, niko na watoto. Mara mingi nataka kununua dawa, hakuna pesa.
Tunatafuta means ya kwenda sasa, kwa sababu watu wa kama mtu wa cancer, diabetes, watu wa HIV ni kama wamesaulika kwa sababu ya corona. Na mtu wa cancer kama saizi anafaa wewe akuwa ameenda Kenyatta, ndio alikuwa ameanza kwenda clinic. Saizi hawezi enda clinic.
With the influx of cancer patients, hospitals like the Meru Hospice are now reeling under the burden of their care.
Wakikuja bado tunawapea dawa. Kwa hivyo roughly tunaona watu zaidi ya 500.
And as the country continues to struggle with the COVID-19 pandemic, cancer and other terminally ill patients are appealing to the government to also pay attention to their predicament and provide more funding to the counties to help them ease the burden on the health sector in the country. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
Now, could it be that Kieni MP Kanini Kega bit more than he could chew in his bid to have National Assembly Majority Leader Aden Duale removed from office? Well, it has now emerged that Kega is having a hard time gathering the signatures required for his removal. At a press conference this evening, Kega only waved a list of MPs said to support his bid, but refused to hand it over to journalists who wanted to confirm the signatures, only alleging the plan has been endorsed by 120 MPs. NTV senior political reporter Kennedy Mureithi has more.
After about 3 days of signature collection, Kieni MP Kanini Kega called journalists to his KICC 26th floor office to give an update on the process.
Once majority of your members that you lead have no confidence in you, then automatically the best thing to do is to exit.
But as he alleged so, he did not go ahead to give the list, only saying that it was property of the Jubilee party. According to Kega, Jubilee members of parliament had been trooping to his office to sign the document that would eventually be handed over to the Jubilee party for action.
Duale, my good friend, has been on the forefront saying that he does not believe in the BPI, he does not believe in the handshake. How can it that the same person who does not believe in the same road that you want to progress is the same person who is leading that? So basically there are quite a number of reasons, and there are many.
However, NTV has learnt the list may not be as complete as he alleges. Some members of parliament whom NTV has spoken to are saying nominated MPs are being forced to sign the document to remove Duale as majority leader with threats of unspecified actions if they do not.
Mr. Speaker, I want to bring to your attention that I will not be standing for chairs. You know, some of them somewhere purporting to collect or forge signatures. This is where they're supposed to be. So why should I stand? This is a statement. So I think next time chairs must be here.
Kega says his lobbying has enabled him get more signatures than he required and will soon take the list, coupled with accusations against Duale to the Jubilee party, for onward transmission to the party leader for action. But as the matter unfolds, NTV has also learnt that the move to collect signatures by Kega is being frustrated by numbers supporting the retention of Duale. Thursday morning, 15 MPs from the northeastern region met at a city hotel and vowed to roll out a campaign to defend Duale by all means.
So we want to thank the president for retaining him, because there was a purge in the party last week, but this week. But I think that will be reassurance that we have been again trusted with that, and we thank him.
I hope and pray that nothing else comes up from whatever the president has said. Nobody should try and undermine what the president has said.
The MPs led by Garissa Senator Yusuf Haji called on President Uhuru Kenyatta not to eject Duale, whom they said had performed his duties diligently and had been remorseful to the president and the Jubilee party.
If for any reason
there is a feeling that we have gone wrong. We want to tell you, we have not intended to be wrong, but we have always intended to work with you and be with you through thin and thick.
Gatondo South MP Moses Kuria is said to have started another process of collecting signatures to shield Duale with those in the Deputy President William Ruto's corner, vowing to shoot down any move to oust Duale. Kennedy Muredhi, NTV.
Elsewhere, 2 communities living in Opusimoru in Narok South, which have been engaging in fights, have surrendered to the police. A total of 526 bows, 1,120 arrows and 2 spears were handed in. Residents have been asked to take personal responsibility for their cattle and not to point accusing fingers towards one another. The 2 communities have also been warned against grazing in forest areas where wild animals may attack their cattle. The Kenya Forest Service will start manning the forest areas, which are now out of bounds from the 2 communities. All right, we're taking a break now, but first, more hope, more equality, more humanity, more pride, more acceptance and more love. Let's give a little more in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. A Kenyan mural artist, Alan Mwangi, also known as Mr. Detail 7, painted a graffiti mural in the Kibera slum in Nairobi yesterday, depicting the American George Floyd, who was killed by a police officer in Minneapolis in the United States. Well, from America to Kenya and across the world, that incident has sparked rage, and a great mural there by our own Kenyan artist. On that note, let's take a breather. We'll be back in just a moment.
The Governor of Kakamega County, His Excellency Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya, is pleased to notify property owners within Kakamega County of his decision to extend a 100% waiver on penalties and interest arising from any accrued and unpaid land rates within Kakamega County. The waiver has been extended from 1st June to 31st August 2020. Take advantage of this waiver period to clear all your outstanding arrears. Please take note that the county government will institute all necessary measures, including repossession of the property upon the end of the waiver period. For more details, visit our county revenue offices or website www.kakamega.go.ke. Kakamega County, the green jewel.
Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white clothes, towels and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it.
Can you tell Kinyanjui to come to my office immediately? Good morning. Good morning. Mimi sipendi unapanguza floor. Hiyo dust uache hapa kwa meza. Clean up. Kinyanjui, this is a problem, eh? Next time uende ununue selector yako, utengeneze sandwich zako, uachane na sandwich za boss.
Selector, the difference is in the taste.
Hii uende weke kwa ile githeri yako, eh?
Selena!
Toto, where is mommy?
Today's a toilet day.
What? Oh.
Selena!
Toilet day?
Tomorrow we're hosting a party and it's a matter of my reputation.
It's a toilet, not a white shirt. Even if you spend your entire day cleaning with bleach and detergent, it still won't be party ready.
Impossible.
Challenge. Harpic 10X. Even if you use bleach and detergent 10 times, they won't give you the same sparkling clean toilet that Harpic 10X will give you.
Wow!
Harpic 10X. Harpic, Kenya's #1 toilet cleaner.
All you have to do is come up with a nice idea, develop it into a nice story, and not just any story, but a story that showcases the ideals, beauty, and diversity of Kenya. Get your mobile phone and shoot a short film and stand a chance to win up to Kenya shillings 500,000 worth of prizes. To participate, you need to be a Kenyan citizen, have a smartphone that can shoot video in HD, be between the ages of 18 to 35 years old, shoot a film not longer than 5 minutes. The film should be in English, but if you must use any other language, please use subtitles in your film.
From inside his own half has scored. Staggering! Just staggering! Drama from day one. Messi tries a shot. Leo Messi celebrates that one. This is the league we want to watch. Where does football go from here?
The wait is over. Live sport is coming back. Stay connected to DSTV.
Welcome to the business news. It will be a crash program for the National Assembly and the National Treasury next week, with only one day allowed between the debate on the Budget and Appropriations Committee's report and the tabling of the national budget set for Thursday. This follows the decision by the August House to defer debate on the report this afternoon, citing need for more time to internalize the content of that report. Julian's Amboko reports.
I will now interrupt the business of the House to allow the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury.
Next week on Thursday, the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary is expected to table the Budget and Appropriations Bill, popularly known as the National Budget, before the National Assembly, spelling out the expenditure and revenue-raising measures for the financial year between July 2020 and June 2021. Ideally, this should happen after the National Treasury has incorporated feedback from the National Assembly on some of the expenditure proposals already tabled. Members of Parliament who should have embarked on debating the report tabled by the Budget Committee opted to defer the debate to Tuesday next week.
This is a very, very important report. We need, it has been tabled now. We need to read it. We need to scrutinize. We need to look at the schedule and get the confidence that when we are coming to contribute, we know what we are talking about.
The Kenyan people are looking at this House to be able to pass a budget that stands scrutiny in terms of our oversight role, and for that reason, I support the majority leader, and if possible, we should even have more than one day to be able to interrogate this. Thank you.
Despite the deferment of the debate and the time constraints it presents to the budget-making cycle, the Budget and Appropriations Committee will still be within the timeframe provided for it to respond to issues raised on the floor of the House. Outgoing Chairperson Kimani Ichung'wah took the moment to give his vote of thanks on his last Budget and Appropriations report.
I am sure the 7 days are still within the timeline. I will still have an opportunity to move this budget, Honourable Speaker, which I appreciate that it is the last budget that I will be doing for the last 3 years.
The budget for the financial year 2020-2021 will be coming on the back of the passage of the Tax Laws Amendment Act of 2020, through which the government has extended relief measures in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, the result of which has created a 172 billion shillings revenue hole in the government's purse. Julian's Amboko, NTV.
Now, local businesses continued retrenching staff at a record pace in May due to constraints associated with the COVID-19 pandemic, as overall business conditions across the Kenyan private sector remained on a steady decline. The Stanbic Bank Purchasing Managers Index for May 2020 was at 36.7, higher than April's 34.8, but still well below the 50 mark that separates a general improvement in the investment climate from a deteriorating environment. Productivity declined at a steep pace as companies reduced activity and customers stayed away to lower the transmission of the virus, forcing companies to cut more jobs. Now, Kenya has welcomed the various debt relief measures which have been undertaken by various multilateral and bilateral partners as a measure to help developing economies cope with the COVID-19 shock. Speaking on Wednesday during a virtual summit of heads of state of countries forming the Organization of the African, Caribbean and Pacific States, President Uhuru Kenyatta said that COVID-19 had presented an unprecedented shock which required bold measures to address.
At our individual national levels, COVID-19 has led to a shrinking of fiscal space, while at the international level, the pandemic has weakened the pipeline of resources dedicated to development programs, because countries that traditionally provide overseas development assistance are also suffering from the effects of the pandemic. The debts of many of our member states continue to rise. 44% of low-income and least developed countries are in debt distress.
KCB Group shareholders have approved an 11.1 billion shilling total dividend payout to shareholders for the 2019 financial year. At a virtual annual general meeting held this morning, shareholders approved a final dividend of 2 shillings and 50 cents dividend per share, which coupled with the 1 shillings per share interim dividend paid out last November brings the total dividend for the year to 3 shillings and 50 cents. In recent weeks, other leading commercial banks, including Equity Bank Group, Standard Chartered and NCBA, have withheld their proposed dividend payouts for the year, citing the need to conserve cash and monitor the uncertainty surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic.
As a business, we appreciate that we are not entirely immune to the impact of this pandemic. With the likely continuation of the crisis into the currently unforeseeable future, we anticipate and expect that our business performance will be subdued. We have implemented business continuity plans and have undertaken business modeling with worst-case scenario in mind.
We anticipate lower transaction volume in this quarter and next quarter, months in this year. Loan disbursement have been affected because of the crisis and asset growth. We foresaw higher provisions in the first quarter of this year, which will continue this for the rest of the year. And finally, there will be an adjustment on the asset yield because of the reduction of the CBR. But overall...
And that's your business news. But before we close, have a look at this. Now, an 8-year-old girl from Myanmar is cooking up a storm online with her culinary prowess in a nation still being told to stay at home due to the coronavirus pandemic. From boiled catfish soup to spicy fried frog, a video of this little girl throwing together some spicy fried prawns bounced around social media and brought stardom to the child who's earned the title Little Chef. Well, she now sells dishes to order and is reaping the rewards. How awesome. We're taking a breather now. More news when we return.
I help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints, and can cause headaches. Panadol Extra relieves multiple types of pain. Panadol Extra, now with new Optizorb technology to fight multiple tough pains with 3 times more pain-relieving medicine in the first 30 minutes when you need it most. Seeing them support themselves makes any pain worth it. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
The Kenya Film Commission, in line with its mandate and function of promoting development of local content and establishing a film fund, has established a film empowerment program that will provide film and video related funding. The Commission announces the funding application for the 2019-2020 financial year. Individuals, companies and organizations will be required to submit funding applications to the Commission. The submissions kicked off on the 28th of April and will run through to the 9th of June 2020. To register, visit www.kenyafilmcommission.com. Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya. Capture Africa.
For a better tomorrow, don't forget to do the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate every night.
How to burp a baby. Lay your baby face down on your lap. Support your baby's head, making sure it's higher than his or her chest. Gently pat or rub the baby's back, leaving the baby comfortable and without any trapped gas.
Kiss Kids diapers. Kiss Kids, no rashes. Kiss Kids, no rashes. Bye-bye rashes. Bye diapers. Choose Kiss Kids.
At Stima Sacco, we are a reflection of you. We are a stable, financially sound institution providing tailor-made services to add value to your life, time and money. We are guided by your aspiration. We are Stima Sacco, a true reflection of you.
Welcome back. Now, many of the aged in Kilifi County often have no one to look after them in their sunset years. A life of solitude is their daily reality, and they're unable to cater for their daily needs. NTV's Coast Region reporter Kevin Mutai met 59-year-old Amina Rahma, who's been ailing for 8 years and whose fragile life is now in the hands of her teenage granddaughter, who cares for her.
This is Maweni village in Mtwapa, Kilifi County, where we found 59-year-old Amina Rahma ailing in her rented house. She is weak, emaciated and bedridden because of a disease she has been battling for 8 years now. For long, she has been left to her own devices, abandoned even by her own close family.
Hata mimi mwenyewe najiona nadhoofika zaidi. Na sina msaada wowote, kamba sina watoto nao, lakini kama hivyo ninavyomwambia simwaniona niko chini. Na miaka mingapi? Miaka 8. Mimi ni wa kuwafanywa hivyo. Na nilikuwa ambaye hakuzaa tu. Pia waangaliwa. Je, mimi ambaye niko na watoto.
She tells us that she has 4 children, 3 sons and 1 daughter, but here she lives with her 5 grandchildren. The eldest is 17 years old Rama Rajab, who has been taking care of her.
Aniogeshe, anifulie, kamba sina wakasawana. Na wakasawana ninao. Lakini nikashukuru, nikasema alhamdulillah, pengine ni majaliwa yangu. Pengine ni majaliwa yangu, lakini huu mtoto huyu namuombea Mwenyezi Mungu ampe nguvu ya kuwa asome, amalize masomo yake na apate kibarua aje ampumzishe mamake pia. Na mimi hapo nilipofikia, nashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu.
Sipendi kuona vinyanya anavoteseka. Kuna time nyanya yozalia hapo, ukisikiza wasema mimi wajomba nimeteseka nao. Mtu nafanya hivi ili mradi wao wasikae na njaa, lakini sasa wanavyonifanyia hanifanyii haki. Sasa izongea badala yendo wasikie uchungu walie, akuta sasa halie sisi ndo twalia. Ushaona? Sasa wasisikii vizuri, hatusikii vizuri yani.
The children say that their mother and one of their uncles have been catering to their rent and food needs, but they can ill afford their grandmother's medication and her condition is worsening.
Vyakula nile mjomba akija jioni ama asipopitia twaenda kwake, twaenda tuulize pesa ya chakula, either aseme hana, kama anacho twapewa hicho kidogo, kama hana ni hivyo tubaki hivyo na njaa. Siku itakayofuata kitakachopatikana twala.
Mikojo yatoka yenyewe, mikojo hamsikia harufu mbaya, choo chatoka chenyewe hata sielewi. Ndio nikasema nilikatika wapi, sijui nilikatika wapi. Sijui ni kibofu, sijui ni kizazi, sielewi, lakini Mola wangu nisaidie, maana sijui ni kipi ambacho kiliharibika katika humu tumboni. Basi isitoshe uchukue chakula hata kama ni vijiko 2 vitatu, ukitia tu humu tumboni utasikia wewe kama ni vikombe vya vunjwa, kama ni gilasi, yani paka watoto wanakuuliza kwani nyanya hilo tumbo lako lina nini? Naambia mimi sijui.
Watu wengine nasema wewe huoni aibu kuona ninio tupe ya nyanyako? Nasema sasa nitafanya nini? Kama mimi ndo mjukuu wa kiume hapo mkubwa nitafanya nini? Hakuna mjukuu wa kike. wanini watoaje, mabibi wa wajomba ndio hivyo hivyo, hawafiki hapa kuja kumshughulikia. Kila mtu akiamka na shughuli zake, unaona. Sasa inabidi tu nimshughulikie.
At some point, we are told Amina had attempted to take her own life as she could no longer care for her family. Her story is replicated among many homes in Kilifi County. Many of the old live a hidden life fated to the fringes of society.
Manake hizo dhiki nasopata. Mwacheni Mungu aitwe Mungu kweli.
Yuwaita wale watoto wake, ashawaita karibu mara 4. Anawakalisha chini, anawaambia wao humjibu wewe tutafanya, lakini hawafanyi. Mpelekeni hospitali, tutampeleka, hawampeleki.
One of the things that she requires for now is her medication, but at the same time she's also equally disturbed by the situation facing her grandchildren. Kevin Mutai, NTV in Maweni, Mtwapa, Kilifi County.
What a difficult situation for that family. Grace to them. All right, well, to more positive news. And a university student who survived the deadly Chesagon landslide, which claimed 20 lives in April, was today discharged from hospital, where she's been fighting for her life. She shared with NTV how she relishes the gift of a second chance at life. NTV's Naoma Sampao has her story.
23-year-old Nancy Piatich, who is a Moi University third-year student, was discharged on Thursday from the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret, where she had been admitted since the April 20th. She is grateful for a second chance at life, having lived through a nightmare when a wall of water and mud came down on the villages in Chesagon on the border of Elgeyo Marakwet and Pokot. She was on her way to the Chesagon shopping center when the landslides happened.
We were in our farm, tulienda kupanda mahindi. So, ndo tukarudi jioni, nikakuja kwenye shop, na hapo ndo mvua ilinipata until when I was carried away.
Her face, legs and hands still bear the scars of the fateful day, a brush with death that will remain ingrained in her body and mind. She spent 47 days in hospital fighting to live.
Nilijipata kama nimekuwa buried, only my shingo yangu tu na kichwa ndo ilikuwa outside. So nikajikokota. One part of me was a bit paralyzed. Sikuwa na nguvu kwa hii side ya right. So nikajikakamua, nikatoka chini ya kwenye mud.
She now hopes to pursue another degree in nursing. Her ordeal also stirred up her faith.
I was in a very great state of self-denial, but through them, I accept what life has presented, and I promise that I'll do my best for this chance that God has granted unto me.
More than 20 people died and many others were left without homes. Naoma Sampao, NTV.
That hopeful story takes us to another break on NTV tonight. The sports news with Brian Otwal is coming up in a moment.
Beat sensitivity pain fast with Sensodyne Rapid Action for clinically proven relief in 60 seconds.
The Kenya Film Commission, in partnership with Techno Mobile, CDI Gadgets, Documentary and Reality TV, has rolled out the 3rd edition of the Mobile Phone Film Competition. It is a competition for short films shot using exclusively mobile phones.
To participate, you need to be a Kenyan citizen, have a smartphone that can shoot video in HD, be between the ages of 18 to 35 years old, shoot a film not longer than 5 minutes. The film should be in English, but if you must use any other language, please use subtitles in your film.
What comes to your mind when you think of the perfect home for your family? Is it the beauty, the comfort, the security, the convenience, or even the affordability? Victory Gardens offers exactly that and much more. It is just 10 minutes drive from Kitengela town and 3.8 kilometers off the tarmac. This gated community project comes with solar street lighting, Maram roads, beautiful trees, 24-hour security, and water connected to every plot. The best part is, families are already living here. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optiven.co.ke.
Optiven Limited, the pacesetters in real estate.
Applications are ongoing for the June and September 2020 programs for diploma, bachelor's, master's and PhDs in all our campuses with online classes available. Prevent the spread of COVID-19 by following the government health guidelines. The University of Nairobi is a world-class university committed to scholarly excellence.
The Kenya Film Commission, in line with its mandate and function of promoting development of local content and establishing a film fund, has established a film empowerment program that will provide film and video-related funding. Individuals, companies and organizations will be required to submit funding applications to the Commission. To register, visit www.kenyafilmcommission.com.
You are a weakling. Crying doesn't make a person weak, Yvonne. Well, to me it does. Because I believe that only weak people cry. Why make me go through all that trouble?
Because I want you to give up on your own. I want you to realize how weak you are. If you're only going to die at the hands of Del Mundo, saving you would have been all for nothing.
Look, if I was able to face death alone, I'm sure I can also face that demon, all alone.
It's playtime on NTV Sports. Welcome, my name is Brian Otwal. Kenyan Premier League management is determined to conclude the season with the governing council set to meet next week to draw out a plan for football resumption. In a press statement, the KPL governing council will deliberate on the government's blueprint to reopen the economy and its effect on football activities. The meeting will be convened depending on the new measures that the government will announce to curb the spread of COVID-19 pandemic following the lapse of 21-day nationwide curfew and cessation of movements on Saturday. KPL had disputed FKF's decision to cancel the 2019-2020 season and have a case at the Sports Dispute Tribunal that is awaiting ruling. FKF called an end to the season and declared Gor Mahia champions over the COVID-19 pandemic, which has halted football all over the world. And Parliamentary Committee on Sports is pleased with the pace of renovation works at the Nyayo Stadium and are optimistic the contractor will hand over the facility to the Sports Kenya upon completion. Led by Chairman Victor Munyaka, the committee has been on an inspection tour of various regional stadia in the country, including Kipchoge Keino, Kinoru Stadium, Wote, as well as Rirungu Stadium. The inspection comes barely a week after Sports CS Ambassador Amina Mohamed updated on the stadium that will be open for a virtual charity run between Kenya and Norwegian athletes on June 11th. Sluggish completion of works in stadia in the country cost the country dearly after it lost rights to host the African Nations Championship that is Chan early 2018, with Morocco stepping in as the replacement.
Investment to be protected, we need something known as crowd control, proper investment on crowd control and security within the stadium and the perimeter and the environs of the stadium, so that we don't have hooligans accessing any event within the stadium. So basically, if you control the vans who become hooligans, you will be able to secure the investment.
As the facilities are, I think that way we shall maintain the standards, because the workmanship that we have seen here at Nyayo Stadium is very good. And what will only let us down is how to maintain that going forward.
We have put up a team that is going to ensure that we finish the stadiums and also we continue with the maintenance. So we are prepared now. The challenge of money is overcome now. We have money, and the fund has been supportive, so I don't think there will be a delay.
And former Harambee Stars midfielder Titus Mulama has urged clubs to take care of the players in order to motivate them to achieve their dreams. Mulama played for Kenya in the 2004 Africa Cup of Nations in Tunis, Tunisia, where he scored a consolation goal in a 3-1 loss against Mali in Group B match.
Ndio, shida ya Kenya ni moja. Nafikiria wale watu wanasimamia kandanda. Siwezi sema ni katika federation peke yake, lakini pia kwa vilabu, chairman, coaches hawaheshimu wachezaji. Na hiyo ndio shida moja ambayo tumepitia kutoka enzi zile mpaka saa hizi. Haki za wachezaji hakuna ambaye anazipigania. Na kama mkufunzi wewe hupigania haki ya mchezaji wako, unatarajia wewe kama ukui mtu wa kwanza, unataka nani ampiganie? Unajua wewe kama chairman, mwenyekiti wa timu fulani ama president, kama upigania haki ya mchezaji wako akae vizuri, aishi maisha mazuri, acheze mpira kama ametulia, unataka nani ampiganie? Unajua, so hiyo imekuwa shida, imekuwa hizo ni kama changamoto tumepitia kutoka zamani, na naona mpaka saa hii bado zinatibuka.
Kuna lile goli ambalo ulifunga, bado unakumbuka katika maisha?
Mali. Moto sana. Ilikuwa ni goli moja safi na ilileta raha kwa sababu tulikuwa na coach mmoja alikuwa anaitwa Wechen. Yeye pekee yake ndiye alikuwa amefungia Kenya bao katika ile kombe la Afrika, na ilikuwa ni penalty. Sasa alikuwa ametutisha sana na hilo bao lake. Kila siku mtafika siku gani, mtafika siku gani. So sasa wakati nilifungia ile bao na ilikuwa tena ni ya kukomboa, ilikuwa nile unaona ni kama sasa timu imerudi na kuna vile kuna uwezekano wa kushinda hiyo mechi. Sasa ilikuwa ni bao moja ya raha sana, ina historia yake.
And the qualifying period for track and field events for the Tokyo 2021 Olympic Games will end on June 29th next year, just 23 days before the start of the world's biggest sporting bonanza. However, World Athletics that unveiled its 4-year strategic plan and Olympic qualifying process disclosed marathon and 50 kilometers race walk entry period will elapse on May 31st, 2021. Tokyo Olympic Games were postponed from July this year to July 2021 owing to COVID-19 pandemic. In marathon and 50 kilometers race walk, the qualifying period that covers 21 months started on January 1st, 2019 and ended in April 5th, 2020. The period resumes in December 1st, 2020 to May 31st, 2021. To England, and managers will be able to make up to 5 substitutions for the remainder of the 2019-2020 Premier League season after clubs agreed to temporary rule change at a meeting held this afternoon. FIFA proposed the solution last month to protect player welfare, with a large number of matches packed into a few weeks to clear the backlog of a 3-month layoff due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Happens when a penguin meets a sea lion and an otter meets a beluga. Well, a Japanese aquarium has come up with a wild idea to entertain the public during its temporary closure due to the coronavirus outbreak. It's introducing sea animals to each other, there you go, look at that, and sharing the outcome of meetings online. Now, ordinarily, a group of 8 penguins at Sea Paradise near Tokyo would waddle around inside the aquarium, but now they have a new stop, a tank of seals that they've never met before. Look at that. Indeed, they do look like kids on a school trip, seeing different animals for the first time. We leave it there. Thanks to Flora Atieno, our sign language interpreter tonight. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. Have yourselves a good night and keep safe.